It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacey Higginbotham's here filling in for Jeff Jarvis. Mathew Ingram. We'll talk about the new Google Home Hub. I've got a little pocket review for you. Just got it today. 3 more problems with the Pixel 3 XL. And Tim Cook's mad as heck. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 479, recorded Wednesday, October 24th, 2018. It's a sugar speedball. This Week in Google is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Introducing Rate Shield Approval. If you're in the market to buy a home, Rate Shield Approval locks up your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. It's a real game changer. Learn more and get started at rocketmortgage.com/twig. And by DigitalOcean, the easiest cloud platform to deploy, manage, and scale applications. Over 150,000 businesses rely on DigitalOcean to remove infrastructure friction and deliver industry-leading price performance. Sign up today and receive a free $100 credit at do.co/twit. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show where we talk about the latest news from the Googleverse. Stacey Higginbotham is here from Stacey on IoT. Hello, Stacey.
Hello.
She's got one of those little colds in her nodes. So, but you sound fine, actually.
Good.
I'm making fun of you.
It's okay. Yeah. I expect that. I expect nothing less.
Nothing less. Ha! Until you get that fist to come out of the back of the thing to punch me. I'm safe. Also with us, your erstwhile cohort at GigaOM, Mathew Ingram, now Chief Digital Writer at the Columbia Journalism Review, CJR.org. Great to have you, Mathew.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I'm glad you both are here, and I would love to have had Jeff here, but he's traveling still. He's a traveling. This is his time of year to travel. But I saw with some disappointment that Jimmy Wales, citizen journalist enterprise, maybe isn't doing all that well. They've let all the journalists go, and now it's all going to be community-driven, like a wiki.
So it sounds like I've actually been doing some research on this, and it sounds like they are going to hire new journalists. So it's not that they're not going to have any, but they want to...
What happened to the 12 original guys? They didn't
The story is that they want the journalists that they hire to be more community friendly or to interact with the community better. So the suggestion or the implication is that the ones they had were too sort of, I'm a journalist and I say what goes and I get content from you, the user, and then I turn it into journalism, as opposed to helping. At least that's the way it was phrased anyway.
Yeah, it's Wiki Tribune, and the last line of the Verge article says, Wiki Tribune plans to hire more journalists in the future in a capacity that's more community-driven and less about supervising the work of outside contributors. That makes, I remember at Tech TV, that was always, and even before then, any television show in the 90s that had a website and a TV part, as Tech TV did, as the site did before it, there was just an impermeable wall between the television people and the web people at that time. Yeah. I think that's changed over time.
So Jimmy wrote something on the site about the changes, and he said that a lot of journalists, and I can agree with him on this, a lot of journalists see themselves as sort of above regular people because they have certain skills and they've done certain things, and so that's not a great mindset to go into collaborating with users on. And I would go along with that.
Well, I know that's how Stacey feels.
I do. I hate collaborating with normals. God.
But you are better than other people, so it's not just a feeling, actual reality.
Well, good. I'm actually glad that it's doing all right. That's actually, it sounds to me like a reasonable course correction. And it is inevitable in this kind of thing that you have people who train in this, who went to graduate school like Stacey did. And I don't know about...
I actually did not go to graduate school. Oh. That's important to know.
Like Mathew did.
I did.
One of you did, I know. And
like
one of
graduate school was a waste of brain cells for me because mine was all about like content analysis as opposed to practical journalism. Right. I was get me on the streets.
I went right after typewriters were invented, so most of my skills use this.
And Jeff, who teaches graduate school in journalism and isn't with us today, the lobby of his graduate school has a display of antique typewriters. So it's all coming full circle. So
I tell the kids when I go to, the 20-year-olds, the kids, when I talk to them at journalism schools about our journalism school, which was typewriters, and we typed things out, and then we had to print them on a giant Gestetner machine.
Oh, jeez.
This is it sounds like the Middle Ages.
Did you shout, copy?
And then this huge roll of paper would come off, and you'd cut it with an X-Acto knife, and then try and trim it and glue it onto a piece of paper.
Oh, wow.
Ship it printer, yeah.
I remember many years ago, 25, 30 years ago, going to the Chronicle where they were laying out the comics, and they still were using wax and X-Acto knives. Mm-hmm. And the guy said, this is by next year, nobody will do this in the world. I think they were one of the last holdouts.
I remember using Dreamweaver to actually code the magazine that I was putting on the web in college. For the first time.
Not that old, Stacey. That does not.
I remember Hot
Hey, dude,
Metal
that feels like forever ago now.
Remember Hot Metal Pro? HTML.
Yeah. Oh, HTML, Hot Metal.
There was one that it had Spider in it or something.
Spider, yeah.
Get web Spider.
Yeah, get it. Yeah. I have received. Go ahead, Stacey. Anything else you want to say about this?
I was going to segue us off of old journalism to new exciting things.
The newest, latest gizmo has arrived. Okay, just to give you a sense, for those of you watching at home, if you're listening, I'll describe this. This is the Google Home Hub. The thing Google announced at Google I/O finally came today. This is a Pixel 3 phone, also announced at the same time. These are almost exactly the same size. So it was hard to tell in the announcement how big this Home Hub was. It ain't big. It's actually a little bit functional, a little bit smaller than the Pixel 7 7-inch tab, or the Nexus 7 7-inch tablet that Google used to sell. They sold that for $127. This is $149. No camera. That's a light sensor. It's an ambient light sensor. In fact, if I cover it up, you'll see at night the pictures get darker and darker and darker. So it won't keep you up at night. I have to say, though, excellent camera. This is a nice photo frame. It integrates really well with Google Photos. What I did for this is I picked people. You could choose people that you want to have in your pictures. So I chose my family, and every one of these pictures has somebody, sometimes in a tiny, tiny picture of my family in it. And it's really fun because it goes back 20 years, ever since I started taking digital photos. So it's a really fun photo frame. Now, I've sent it for every 10 seconds. You can make it every minute, every 5 minutes, every hour. You don't have to change it that frequently, but just for purposes of display. And it has also got Google Assistant in it. Let me turn the microphone on.
The mic's back on.
And say, I don't know, listen to This Week in Google. Oh, I have to say something first. Pardon me. Hey, play This Week in Google. I don't know if it'll work.
Sure. Here's the latest episode of This Week in Google MP3, Twig 478. When a doorbell rings, a roadie gets its wings.
It's time for Twig. This Week in Google. Kevin Toffel and Stacey Higgins.
Hey, stop. So the sound is, I think, pretty good. It's coming out of these fabric-covered
We'll play with them.
speakers on the back, which is pretty good. I'm sad to say I thought, it'll have a Type-C connector. It doesn't. It has one of those barrel plugs, proprietary barrel plugs. So, and it has, and I can't show you because it's plugged in, the poorest design for a plug I've ever seen. It's so round, and people have already started complaining it doesn't work very well in a power strip. Just be prepared for that.
Yeah, Google did that with the home. Is it the minis, I think?
Yeah.
It did that, yeah. I was really disappointed in that.
Please, come on. So
come on, you know what we're doing with this.
The default display is a photo. You see it's still showing the twig. It's the default display. Let me turn it down a little bit because it's a little bright for us to see. You swipe up to get controls from the bottom. You use the Google Home app to control it. Oh, now I can't see anything. I love the photo slideshow, and I think that the screen is very good for that. It's more than adequate for the slideshow. It also has as you can see, a clock display, and it has a variety of digital and analog clocks you can use. But I think everybody's going to use this as a photo frame. No calling, no video calling. You can do audio calling. But
you can do duo on it, though. Kevin and I discovered that.
But no
video.
Right.
Yes.
I like this. I think at $149, this makes a lot of sense. Putting this in the kitchen, in the bedroom, no camera, right? In the bathroom.
I don't think it looks good in the kitchen. I'd say bedroom, maybe bathroom. Kitchen, I feel like I would want the larger, maybe that JBL you've got there, or maybe the Lenovo Smart Display that I've got.
You have the Lenovo. This just came out.
It's a little small.
That's a little small. I would like the 10-inch Lenovo, which I've got with me, is great for watching YouTube. You can watch YouTube on it. You can't watch Netflix yet on the larger ones, although you are supposed to eventually.
Yeah.
How much is the Lenovo?
The bigger Lenovo is $250. The smaller Lenovo is $200. The smaller is 8 inches. The big one is 10 inches.
You like this? I can slide down from the top and see my home automation stuff. So,
yes, and you can control the lights. I'm very excited.
Isn't that nice? Yeah.
It is.
So these are the lights, media, broadcast. I could view the rooms. This one's in the shed. I thought that was funny. Anyway, I think this is actually a very nice device, especially at that price. And I would say I'm gonna get a couple more. I'm really pretty happy with it. I really love the photo frame. It's for me, and this makes more sense if you've stored a lot of photos in Google Photos. If you've been using the face recognition, it really is fun because it goes back in time. Here's a picture from Hawaii from like 4 or 5 years ago. So, and it's just completely random. So I like that. It doesn't sound bad. We played some music. It's not horrible. But it's better than one would expect for something this size. But of course, yeah, I'm sure the JBL will sound better. And the Lenovo sounds pretty good too. I would say the Lenovo is not hugely better than this.
I think the Lenovo sounds better. Of course, I'm not in the same room. So
here's Henry at the prom.
I definitely like it. I would like it definitely bigger. I've been trying to. I actually have a computer, a dedicated server that just plays photos, and I like them to be big so I can see.
Yeah.
Who's in and stuff.
Well,
I thought about building.
And if you want really big, of course, if you've got a TV that's cast enabled, you can always just put them up on your TV, right? And get 70 inches of photos.
Now, before you rush out and buy one, Matthew, I will say I would be looking in a month. We're going to be actually less than a month now is going to be Black Friday. And if I don't see lots of hot Google deals, I'm going to be shocked.
Yeah, they already sold this Google Home at $100 for 8 hours on.
Great point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, online. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'll have a full review for you Saturday on the screensavers, but I got it this morning. But my initial reaction is I'm pretty happy with this. I like it, but I like the Echo Show too.
The new one?
Well, I don't have the new one. I had the original one, which a lot of people hate.
The new one is very beautiful.
Yeah.
And now that I've got the old one, but once I saw the new one, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Old one, you are so dated and yucky.
It does. It already looks old, doesn't it?
It's so gross.
Now we come
so gross
to
is such an over-exaggeration. I'm sorry.
It's so gross.
That's newitis.
Now we come to the Pixel 3, and I can't figure out if people are just being really nitpicky or if there are actually some significant issues with the Pixel 3. There's one that I have certainly experienced, and I think pretty much everyone's experiencing. If you're listening to music on the Pixel 3 and you launch the camera, the music stops. It has very aggressive background process killing. Some say it's because they only put 4 gigs of RAM in here. I don't believe that. I think it's either a bug or Google tuned it a little too aggressively. Remember, in the early days of the iPhone, you couldn't run anything in the background except Apple's approved stuff. That was to improve battery life. Later, Apple added background. Google's had it. Android's had it for some time. So it could very well just be an aggressive memory management technique. However, it is, I was trying to play Pokemon Go the other day, and every time I took a picture, it restarted Pokemon Go, which was no good. And it's certainly no good if you're listening to a book or music and you want the music to continue while you take a picture or do something else. You can multitask, but it looks like 2 or 3 apps is the limit, and some apps like the camera are so demanding that nothing can run in the background.
Is that all the fancy computational photography?
Maybe, yeah. Sorry, Matthew?
Sorry, Matthew.
So it literally shuts the app down? Like if there's something running?
I could show you. I can do it. I'll play some. This is from Google's own app. This is Google Play Music. Let me turn it up.
That seems suboptimal.
Yes. Okay. So I'm listening to some music on here, and as soon as I launch the camera, it did it just the other. So this is part of the problem is it doesn't do it all the time. So it didn't do it this time.
Oh, I see.
Oh, but now it's gone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it runs out of RAM.
Yeah, it may be a RAM issue. 4 gigs is a lot, but maybe this to me, this feels like something they could fix pretty quickly, and I imagine will. There's also issues. Some people have complained of the camera losing photos. You take a picture, it records it, but it doesn't save it.
What?
Yeah, that would be pretty bad. It has not happened to me, but could be pretty upsetting. People are complaining about the sound. That the 2 speakers, and everybody hates this. Everybody, I don't hate it, but a lot of people hate this notch. But at least the excuse for the large notch is that you've got a speaker here. But the thing is, it's a smaller speaker here than on the chin, which people also hate. And even though these are left, right speakers, one is louder than the other. And then and then somebody, I can't remember who, maybe it was Nilay Patel, put rice on his back of his Pixel while it was playing music. There it is. Russell Holly did this. And there's so much bass that the rice is vibrating.
Wow.
Now, is that being nitpicky?
A little bit.
I think so. Hey, who's going to be eating rice off the back of their Pixel?
Well, no, that's just to illustrate the heavy bass phenomenon.
Well, I want heavy bass.
Not everybody does.
Bass. Well,
I don't enjoy like super overweighted bass, I'll be honest.
It doesn't. Okay.
And you know what? A lot of people they boost their bass because their overall sound quality isn't great.
Right.
And then you've got,
I would agree. The sound is very loud, and Google made a lot of noise about that, so to speak. It's not great sound, but I don't expect a phone to have great sound. Paul Thurrott says he was unhappy with it. It's not as good even as his Pixel 2 XL. So another thing to be aware of.
Hey, but if the bass is strong enough to move the rice, then the haptic feedback on that thing must be awesome.
Actually, it's surprising.
It's not?
It is fantastic. And that is the one thing everybody's very happy about.
There you go.
Pluses and minuses.
I like it. The screen is great, and the camera is amazing. We're just now getting an updated camera app. Doesn't yet have the night shot capability, but that seems to be just around the corner. Actually, the new version of the Google camera app was decompiled, and people have found the night shot in there, and there are APKs floating around with it on there. So it's I'm very excited about that. That's a feature Google said will come out soon. It's an excellent camera. I'm very happy with the images. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. I think those are definitely problems. There's no phone that's perfect. Every phone has problems. I've been very happy with the Pixel 3. And I can live with the fact that it's closing out apps in the background. Presumably that'll be fixed. If it's not fixed, then it's an issue. Then I would agree.
I saw somebody, I was at an event and I saw it, and it looked great. I mean, the screen looked amazing.
The screen is very nice. Last year's screen was not so nice. That was a terrible OLED screen. Apparently they're getting these from Samsung, according to Kevin Toffel, so that's good. Sorry?
I thought, I was looking for a new phone, and I saw something that said the 2XL had a different screen.
It did. It had the LG OLED screen. Right. It was terrible.
And that it was not recommended. Yeah.
Not recommended, but the 3 is as good. It's a Samsung panel reportedly, and I would say is as good as the iPhone or the Samsung phones. Very crisp, great color.
I got a Huawei P20.
The P20 is great. Are you happy?
Very happy. The camera is amazing.
It has not 1, not 2, but 3 cameras.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the 2 big ones on the back are designed for low light and zoom, and its performance is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really amazing.
I have a copy of, I bought one too, and the thing that set me off a little bit, do you remember that when you set it up, Huawei asked for permission to look at everything on your phone and send it back to China?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just said, sure, fine.
What could possibly go wrong?
I don't care.
You're not a Chinese dissident. That's
like, hello, Chinese dissidents trying to contact him.
That put me off a little bit, but other than that, it's a really nice phone.
Yeah, it's a great phone. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah.
This sort of ties to this Pixel 3 charging story, which opened me into this crazy world of insider baseball on Qi. Well, wait.
What's going on there?
So, did you read the update at the bottom?
So it starts with Ars Technica saying DRM for chargers. Google Pixel 3 locks fast Qi charging to certified chargers, and chiefly their claim was that the fast 10-watt charging is only available if you have a Pixel stand. Google's response: the Pixel 3 does not support 10-watt Qi charging at all. It supports 10-watt wireless charging. And it supports the Qi wireless charging standard, but these are two different things. Qi is capped at 5 watts. For 10-watt wireless charging, you need a charger with what Belkin calls Google's 10-watt proprietary wireless charging technology. So that does kind of make sense that, This is what I mean. Sometimes I think the fanboys jump on these things, get all irate. I blame Twitter.
Assume it's a conspiracy.
Yeah. And then the facts come out that actually you can't get a 10-watt Qi charger. It wouldn't be Qi.
Exactly. Well, I do think, Qualcomm has pushed this with its rapid something charging. So chip vendors are constantly doing this to differentiate with their products, right? And the idea that Google or Apple or any, you would do this to boost your own product, that totally makes sense. But it is kind of frustrating for a user.
Well, but they do allow, for instance, the Belkin charger to do 10 watts. So it's not just Google.
Well, it's more the idea that now if I'm buying a phone and I want rapid charging, I don't buy Qi. That's not the one. So all of my standardized stuff doesn't work. I have to go buy something different.
That's a failing of the Qi standard, though, right? Because
arguably.
I mean, yes, they are working on higher wattage standards, but yes.
So I have the
things will come to these
Samsung
guys
fast
first.
charger for my Note 9, and it does charge fast. It works with everything else. It works with the iPhone, and it seems to charge pretty quickly for both the iPhone and the Pixel 3. That's a 15-watt charger, but obviously it's not a Qi charger. So Qi is like the
lowest common denominator.
The lowest common denominator, exactly.
Well, and Qi has several denominators, it's worth noting. They've got the phone stuff, they've got a big, massive wattage for charging electric vehicles, and then they've got another group working on kitchen standards. And
that would charge my phone pretty fast.
Yeah, that would blow your phone out of the water.
Would explode.
It would make rice dance on the back of it, that's for sure.
I was going to say, have you ever put your phone in a microwave? Because that's what it would be like.
Article in Wired about the Secure Enclave, the hardware chip in the Pixel 3, the Titan M, which I didn't realize this is based on the big boy Titan that is in Google servers. And it is a Secure Enclave. There it is right there. Physically separated from the chip, which is actually a little different from the way the Secure Enclave works on Apple's iOS devices. Their Secure Enclave is on the die for the CPU, and Google says by isolating the Titan M completely, moving it off the DIP,
that seems smart.
You get. He says everything that lives in the main processor, including Apple's Enclave, is sharing cache and RAM for the most part. In order to use it to protect keys, that's a reasonable thing to do, but there's still going to be the risks of things like Spectre, Meltdown, and Rowhammer. This is Will Drury, who's a principal software engineer at Google.
Yeah, if they're combined, it's easier to...
Yeah. So we moved the key matter to tamper-resistant hardware that has its own private storage, its own private RAM, its own private processing.
Yes, so that's a super common design. But I will say, when you integrate it on chip, one of the reasons you do it is to save space and also to save on costs.
Yes.
So I just want to point out that because a lot of times we don't discuss the trade-offs there, and it's worth discussing.
And everything's a trade-off, yeah.
My phone has a secure enclave, but it's located in Shanghai.
We'll take good care of your data here at Huawei in Shanghai.
It's so secure I can't get it. So.
We actually had a long and I thought a fruitful conversation on Windows Weekly today about exactly that, because Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, spoke yesterday in front of a European Privacy Commission.
He was quite heated.
He was clearly targeting Google and Facebook. No question in my mind. He didn't mention them by name, but saying...
Yeah, I don't think he was talking about them.
No.
I think he was talking about two other large...
Okay, so wait, y'all, because I strong feelings on this. I think it's actually really good that he did this. But yes, he's talking about Google and Facebook.
He
but
calls
he's
them the data industrial complex.
But actually, everyone wants to be like them. So he's also making a really important point. Right. And we talk about it on this week's show, but I don't know if you saw the story about GM listening in on the radio signals from their cars last year. So this came out, and if you Google like GM, I don't know.
They used their OnStar technology to do that, probably.
They did, and they pulled this data, and there was a quote from one of their executives, and he's like, he talks about why they were doing this and pulling this. He's like, because we could, which I don't know about you, but hey, that's freaky as all get out.
Well, we know TVs do it. We know, this is not unusual. In fact, that's what Cook said. He said, basically, we're in a surveillance state. But I guess the question I would ask you, and it's a question I asked Paul, is where do you draw the line? I mean, Google is a free service. Apple does not give its stuff away. But Google and Facebook and others are free services, not GM either, but let's stick with Google and Facebook then. And the way they monetize their services by selling advertising. The way they make money in advertising is by selling targeted advertising using information they claim is anonymized. Actually, Google, I think, does anonymize it. Facebook pretty obviously doesn't. But
well, and let's be clear, users buy into that, right? Users effectively know that that's occurring.
Well, that's the question. How much do users know, right? That is a good question. And how much do they care?
I don't think it's how much do they know and how much do they care. I think it is we have to come to a consensus as a society on what data should be protected and how we should use it. So I know that Facebook is using my data and I don't get enough value from Facebook. So I'm like, screw it. I'm just not going to be on there.
Right.
But there are plenty of people who get lots of value from Facebook. And if they had the option to have better controls over what data went where, I think some of them, not all of them, but some of them would take it. And I think denying people that and just shrugging it off and saying it's because they don't care, I don't think that's a really nuanced conversation. It doesn't further better privacy laws.
And so that's my question.
And I completely agree that there should be, in particular, Facebook and Google should make, Facebook in particular, should make it easier to control your data in a more granular way and even to take it with you if you want and I think if there is one place that legislation could look at, it would be that. It would be transparency around that. And it would be more information and more sort of ability users could have around that.
But I just wanted to ask this one question. Is it okay with you, and as long as it's explicit and everybody knows, to get free services like Facebook or Google or Twitter, because the way it's paid for is with targeted ads, if they stopped at that... In other words, they use the information they gathered about you to target ads, which is highly lucrative for them. Would that be okay? As long as
it's fine with me.
Stacey?
I mean, that's the deal I bought into.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either. In fact, I'd prefer targeted ads.
I know what I'm doing.
Yes, but here's the deal. As we move the computing to everything else, it becomes really interesting to see. It's one thing to get a targeted ad when I'm surfing the internet. It's another thing to get a targeted ad in my home on my, television that I'm watching with my new boyfriend or on a billboard because I'm walking by. This is all theoretical. I make them silly so you can see that.
And
it's
I agree with
theoretical.
you. GM snooping on what radio stations I'm listening to and selling that data off without my knowledge, maybe with my permission in the fine print, but without my knowledge, is wrong. That's wrong.
Right.
I'm not,
Because they're
okay.
making money on the car, and similarly, Apple's making money on the hardware. But if I'm getting a free service, ad-supported service, I don't know if that's
okay.
wrong.
I don't see
listen
what
to
GM
this.
did as being such a big deal. Maybe I'm totally.
I think it's.
I don't care if they
I think
listen
it's-
or if they look at what radio stations I'm listening to or songs I'm listening to.
You
Why
clearly
would
do
that-
not have the all Britney Spears channel. What the heck, Matthew?
But even if-
No.
So what? It's that information is. I don't care about it. I don't. It doesn't bother me
So
that
that's
someone's.
you're going a little farther
it's-
than I was willing to go.
And they were looking at where you were listening to it. They were looking
Yeah.
at what vehicle you drove. All of that would
Totally
freak
fine.
me out.
Totally.
And I would say a couple things. One, in a few years, you're not going to be able to buy an unconnected product, for example,
Everything
in
will be able to listen.
your appliances. So Kenmore and GE Appliances, they've both said that they're not going to make non-connected products. So when you start thinking about these things are going to come, connectivity is going to be coming by default to a lot of these, then you realize you can't opt out of this world. So we have to start making these rules and having these conversations now. And
I agree.
Matthew, you may
Good
be
point.
like, I don't care if,
Yeah, no, you're right.
Kenmore or
It's a
GE
slippery
knows what's in
slope.
my fridge.
And maybe I don't care about the songs on my radio, but you're right. Everything is going to include sort of data harvesting.
And some
by
people do
default.
care.
Sure they do,
There's clearly a spectrum of care. Some
Right.
people, for instance, somebody in the chat room saying, well, Leo, you have ads. Yeah, but we don't collect information about you for those ads. So there are some people who say no ad is okay. I want a free service and I don't want you to monetize it. That's one extreme. There's some people that say no data collection is okay at all. That's another extreme. And people generally fall between those in some way. Like, well, you could collect data, but you can only use it exactly this way. I'm of the opinion, for instance, as long as you're explicit. This is what GM did wrong. They didn't tell people, and as long as I have an opt out, and maybe the opt out is a trade out. Maybe if you don't want to see ads, you can't use Facebook. That's the trade off. But that's got to be explicit, and I have to have the choice. I have to be informed. There has to be informed consent, which is what GM didn't do. And I should have the right to say no to that. And as long as I have that, and I will say yes in my case to, you can collect data about me to target ads. You can't sell it to the government. You can't sell individual information about me to anybody. If somebody says, hey, I want to know what Leo's blood type is, you can't give them that.
That's what I mean about granularity. It'd be easier.
Yeah.
It'd be better to have a bit more control rather than just sign here to give away all your data so that we can do whatever we want with it, and we're not going to let you know what that is.
And it may be that Kenmore sells refrigerators that must be connected to work. If that's the case, wow. I mean, if you can, if you get a benefit from connecting a refrigerator, but you don't have to for it to cool food, then that may be a fair trade-off, right?
And I should point out that I said I don't care. I don't care about lots of things that I probably should care about. So taking my advice.
He's pretty apathetic, folks. He's just
completely.
He's Canadian.
Canada.
He's Canadian.
They're
nothing
fine up there.
nothing
They're
to fear.
I'm reminded by my wife all the time that there are things I should care about that I don't care about, and I realize there's a problem.
I'm kind of like you, Matthew. I don't give a damn about anything at all. It comes with age, I think. Here's what
you remember.
I think it comes with privilege, you guys.
Oh, privilege. We're white guys.
You're right. That's fair. That is totally fair.
That's actually strictly true. That's exactly right. It comes with privilege.
Who was it who said you don't have any privacy and you should probably get used to it? That was like 12 years ago.
Scott McNeely.
Yeah, Scott McNeely.
Speaking of privilege.
Well, fair. He's pretty privileged.
Here's what Cook said. He's also privileged. Our own information from the everyday to the deeply personal is being weaponized against us with military efficiency. These scraps of data, each one harmless enough on its own, are carefully assembled, synthesized, traded, and sold. Taken to this extreme, this process creates an enduring digital profile and lets companies know you better than you may know yourself. Your profile is a bunch of algorithms that serve up increasingly extreme content That's something I'd worry about, and we see that at YouTube. That's what he's talking about, obviously. Pounding our harmless preferences into harm. We shouldn't sugarcoat the consequences. This is surveillance. He's calling for federal regulation. But by the way, so is Google, so is Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, because I think these tech giants all realize, well, we need a national law because
next year it's going to happen, so they have to do it.
Yeah.
And they'd rather do it
on
and
their
they want
terms.
to get out in front of it. Yeah.
To the extent possible. I would say he's also probably talking a little bit about the data brokers. I mean,
definitely.
He's not a dumb man. And
definitely.
Those guys are...
I think they're actually worse. I think
they
in some cases
ways are.
Because they're less transparent, if that's possible. And they merge all kinds of databases that people don't even realize exist.
Right. Well, I think Tim does nail it there where he's saying each piece by itself is innocuous enough, but when you aggregate them, you can create something that is pretty dangerous. He also says AI is going to make this worse. He says for artificial intelligence to be truly smart, it must respect human values, including privacy. If we get this wrong, the dangers are profound. We can achieve both great artificial intelligence and great privacy standards, but it's not only a possibility, it's a responsibility. You know what? I agree with him. It, of course, it's directly aimed at Google, and I guess you could be a cynic and say, well, yeah, since Apple doesn't have that information, they don't want AI to be able to use that information because that would give Google an unassailable advantage.
I was going to say it's easy in some ways for Apple to make that argument because
they don't do it.
They don't do it, and they don't really need it. They can sell phones for $2,000 and make billions of dollars. So, and they don't provide, like, Apple fans are going to get mad, but I think Apple is terrible at most services, and that a little bit of user data would probably help things get better.
At least data about the way people use their stuff, and
or don't.
Clearly Apple, I mean, GM makes plenty of money selling cars, but they wanted to make a little more money. And clearly Apple could do the same thing. There is strong incentive on every company to make more money, even if you're making a lot of money. But I like hearing him say no. He says GDPR has shown us all that good policy and political will can come together to protect the rights of everyone. He tweeted this early this morning. We believe privacy is a fundamental human right. No matter what country you live in, that right should be protected in keeping with 4 essential principles. This is, by the way, cribbed straight from GDPR. Data minimization, transparency, the right to access, and the right to security.
GDPR is hugely problematic. I mean, it's not like it's the best privacy legislation ever devised. It has all kinds of unanticipated consequences, I think. I'm not sure we should say that's the gold standard we should be.
I would say it has a potential for harm. And what the EU commissioner said is, but we won't go there. We'll use it with a light touch. We'll use it appropriately. But anytime a law gives lawmakers a tool that could be harmful, that's, to me, harmful in and of itself. However, it hasn't been misused to this point, I don't think.
It's only a few months old, though.
Yeah, it's gonna take us a year or two. You know,
and I mean, the trend is toward things like the right to be forgotten, which is a huge minefield. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. Go ahead, Stacey.
Oh, that's okay. I like tumped over my microphone, so I'm like sitting here going, "Oh, hey, you may have already talked about this," which is, look. I think we're going to have to find a balance between it is possible for us, given compute power, given social media and everything that we have, to know just about everything about everyone and have it tracked forever somewhere, right? And that is historically something that we really haven't had. I mean, I guess we've had it in small towns back in the day where, your family was, you could have that kind of tainted from your family forever.
Or in East Germany.
But, you could always move, which is a big deal, but still possible. Now you're not going to be able to ever escape that. And so we're coming from this era of it's really impossible to know anything about anybody to it's possible to know everything about everybody. And we've got to figure out the median between like how we want to handle that. And Matthew's going to be a little different than maybe me.
I just think it's a lot more complex than, and I think we've talked about this before. If I own, my data, quote unquote, on Facebook, what does that consist of? Does it consist of my address book? Because those are the phone numbers of other people. Do I own those, or do they own those? And if I want to take them somewhere, right? So if I want to take them somewhere, I have to get permission from all of those people, right? If it's data portability or Facebook giving me control over, quote unquote, my data, like it's fine if it's my photos or content I uploaded, but as soon as it involves other people, you get it becomes exponentially more difficult.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're developing mores around that, right? So I know at school, I would never take a picture of someone's child and post it without them knowing. And I think beforehand, like 10 years ago, I might have done that, or someone else might have done that. But now no one does that.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. So that's become the more. Nobody will do that, huh?
In my child's school.
Yeah.
Stacey got mad at me because I posted a photo of you. I tagged you, I think. I posted a photo on, I think it was
She's
Facebook.
A grown-up.
But I'm a grown-up.
But I tagged you, and you said, I wish you wouldn't do that.
Oh, yes, and I do. I tell my friends that.
It literally not occurred to me. And so I thought, that's odd.
You wish you wouldn't post photos of you or tag them?
Yes, I don't like people post, mostly tagging, because that makes it much easier to find me.
Right.
Although we know that Facebook's face recognition algorithms are so good that it doesn't matter anymore, right? If there's a picture of you on Facebook, So would your preference now be that people not post photos of you at all?
I don't like people posting photos of me. It really depends on context. If you post a photo of me at an event, that's fine. If you're at my house and post a photo of me, that's not fine.
I agree with you on that.
If you post a photo of me in front of my kid's school, also not fun.
Yeah.
But I think you're
That's
right.
A good point.
We are developing a kind of morality but etiquette / morality. I mean, these things are so new. It's early days in terms of determining how you behave when 2 billion people could possibly see the thing that you're posting. I mean, we just don't know what that's like, really.
And there was some backlash recently about the people who took a video of maybe a homeless man shaving on a train.
Yeah, I remember that one because I was thinking about it just today. He was shaving. The guy sort of made fun of him because he was making a god-awful mess. He didn't have anywhere to put the cream, so he was just flicking it on the floor. And he was shaving repeatedly, and there was a lot of shaving cream, and it was hilarious. And you were thinking, why would this person be doing this on the train? And then within about an hour or two, it turned out that he was homeless and had just gotten out of a homeless shelter. And he was going to meet, I think, his brother, and he wanted to look nice. And so he was shaving the only place he could. And, just completely changed the entire perspective that you had on video.
Some of this is because social media has allowed people with bad intent to act out so horrifically that we are now all much more sensitive that any picture that's posted is the potential for being misused. And all of a sudden we have to be aware of this. And partly it's because the Twitter and Instagram and Facebook make it so easy to
But we are, so this is how we learn, right? If there's so now I think it's become pretty commonplace to be irritated or to
we're all outraged all the time.
No, to see it as bad when, say, somebody is in public and they overhear someone having a conversation and then they live tweet the conversation or they take pictures of them. There was one, I think, on a plane where it seemed like these two people were getting together. Like that's an invasion of privacy. But if you see the purpose of social media as being to make fun of people who you don't know, you probably think it's great. But as soon as you start to think of them as real people who have lives, then you maybe reconsider. And I think it is interesting to see the shifting of kind of the way we look at those things.
Life is so complicated now. And by the way, I thought Alex Stamos, the former Facebook security chief's response to Tim Cook on Twitter should be taken.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Didn't.
He says that Apple needs to come clean about how it blocks ways to provide a more secure and private way to access apps in China. Apple absolutely supports the Chinese government in surveilling its citizens. Here's the quote.
Excellent.
We don't want the media to create an incentive structure that ignores treating Chinese citizens as less deserving of privacy protections because a CEO is willing to badmouth the business model of their primary competitor who uses advertising to subsidize cheaper devices.
Great point. Great point.
Wait, cheaper devices, my buttocks.
Well, Google's devices aren't cheaper, but there are free and cheap Android phones that are effectively subsidized by the fact that Google gives away Android.
So he cares about our privacy, but he doesn't care about the privacy of
as long as you're not Chinese.
Right. So how is that? How are we supposed to see that as some shining moral, compass?
I always am suspicious when people are very sanctimonious. Because often the most sanctimonious people are the ones who are the biggest sinners. And we've seen that
I'm
time
very
and time
sanctimonious, and I am not a big sinner.
Well, there are exceptions.
My biggest sin is
Not
eating
that
an
we know of
entire
anyway.
package of Sour Patch Kids.
Oh, that's
which
bad.
I
You're
did
a
do.
bad person.
I am.
Actually, the only person you're hurting is yourself.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to get canker.
And my family, who I'm taking the Sour Patch Kids away from.
Oh, well, that's...
And also have to deal with me when I'm in the sugar high and unhappy.
But isn't it like a speedball for sugar? Like it's sour and sweet, so it's like counteracting the sugar?
So good.
I don't think that's how it works.
That's not how it works.
It's a sugar speedball.
Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Let's take a break. Mathew Ingram is here. He is in charge of digital writing, whatever that might be, at the Columbia Journalism Review at cjr.org. Chief digital writer. Does that mean you don't write with ink?
No, exclusively with pixels and ones and zeros.
You're only allowed. I think it means you cover digital technologies.
Yes.
That'd be my guess. Yes. And Stacey Higginbotham, who only covers Internet of Things, little tiny Internet of Things. That's actually,
or big ones.
Or big ones. Stacey, like your GM vehicle. Stacey on IoT. That's an Internet of Thing device, isn't it? If it's phone and home.
Yes.
Sure is.
Stacey on IoT.com. Our show today brought to you by Rocket Mortgage. When it comes time to buy a home, you have, of course, many choices. Lots of people want to lend you that money to buy the house. That's nice. That's a good feeling. But there's a different experiences involved. For instance, the big bank where we got our loan. Lisa and I got our home loan 5 years ago for the house we live in today. And first of all, you got to go to the big bank, right? And you probably should dress up a little bit. You look prosperous. I don't need a loan. I'm just going to do you a favor and borrow some money. And then they go, oh, here's a stack. Here's the application. Go home, do some homework. And we did. We were good. We went, we got all the paperwork, got the old pay stubs, got the bank statements from years gone by, filed it all. We thought, well, this will be done soon. Let's go on vacation. 2 months later, we're still getting requests from the big bank for more information. We're on a cruise ship faxing them like pay stubs and stuff. It's crazy. We finally got the house, but it was not a good experience. Fast forward to the 21st century, and Quicken Loans, the #1 lender in the country for the last 8 years, according to J.D. Power and their customer satisfaction survey. #1. That's made them #1 in volume. They've actually surpassed the big bank as of December. That's really good news. It means more people are getting the great customer experience of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage is their entirely online mortgage approval process. You don't have to go to a bank. You don't have to go to the attic to get paperwork. You just go to rocketmortgage.com/twig, answer a few simple questions. Within a few minutes, they'll check your credit and give you pre-qualified approval. Boom, just like that. You choose the loan you want, the term, the rate, the down payment. Then, within 24 hours, step 2, they'll verify your income, assets, and credit and give you verified approval. Now you're as good as a cash buyer. You go right to the front of the line when you're buying the house. The seller says, oh, good, because you have the letter. It says, see that we got the money. That's a nice feeling. There's still a little anxiety, though, because rates are going up. And there's some pressure on you when you're looking at a house to buy now before the rates go up, and it costs you lots more. That's where Rocket Mortgage really kicks into gear. Once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. They'll lock that rate for up to 3 months while you shop, up to 90 days. It can't go up. Rates can go down, and your rate will go down, but if the rates go up, yours stays the same. Either way, you win, and that's exactly what makes Rocket Mortgage and Quicken Loans the best lender in the country. To get started, it's easy. Go to rocketmortgage.com/twig. Rate Shield approval is only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030. You don't have to remember all that. Just remember this, rocketmortgage.com/twig. They've really transformed the lending process. Check them out today. Are you ready? You want to do a little... actually, before we do the changelog, I had mentioned a few weeks ago it was the 10th anniversary of Android. Actually, the HTC One, the Google phone, came out, the G1, on October 22nd, so 2008. So there were a number of posts. I have that G1. I bought it. I was very excited. And then, as everyone else was, very disappointed by that first Android device.
Can you still use it?
I guess it has a proprietary charging port. I'd have to find the weird charge. Those days, all those phones were weird. You know, there's a weird Nokia. Things you plugged in. It didn't have a headphone jack. The main reason it wasn't any good is not Android, or it was the phone was very underpowered. It was very slow. Or maybe it was Android. They had an on-screen keyboard and a multi-touch. It had a physical keyboard. They had apps. No, they didn't have apps. No, they didn't have an on-screen keyboard. No, they didn't have multi-touch. You know what else they didn't have? They didn't have a headphone jack.
Wow.
Wow.
That's very forward-looking.
Yeah, right. They were way ahead of the times there. But over time, Android got better and better. Here's Cupcake 1.5. This is a fun walk down memory lane from The Verge. Cupcake added the ability to cut and paste. That turns out to be a hard thing to do on a mobile device, I guess. Windows Phone didn't have it for a long time. The on-screen keyboard, that arrived in 1.5. The extensible widgets, video capture and playback. Android 1.6, Donut. Remember that? Then Eclair 2.0.
Eclair, yeah.
Eclair was a complete redesign of how it looked, and had, according to The Verge, an unheard of 854 by 480 display.
Wow.
Wow.
So
that was
futuristic.
The Motorola Droid. I did not like the droids. Multiple account support. Wow, I didn't realize it had been around that long, since 2.0. Wow. Google Maps navigation came out in 2.0. Live wallpapers, speech to text. Then there was Froyo, because remember, they're all desserts, 2.2. Gingerbread, 2.3. An improved keyboard, better battery, and app management. Front-facing
cameras. Didn't Android give us the battery indicator?
Yes.
Did I just imagine?
Oh, you're good. That's exactly right. That was in Gingerbread.
That was their thing.
Was that in Gingerbread, or was that earlier? I think it was earlier, right? Scroll back up through those pictures.
Gingerbread helped make that a little easier to fix with a new bundled utility for graphically viewing battery drain over time. That was in Gingerbread 2.3. Honeycomb. Honeycomb was designed for tablets, I remember, and did not work very well. That came out with that Nexus 7. The 7-inch tablet I was talking about. $127. Honeycomb was an interim ice cream sandwich, was the real deal, 4.0. Now we're getting to kind of something that looks like the real Android that we're used to. Face unlock. Android Beam. Here's to go with the battery drain indicators. Here's data usage analysis. It's funny if you look at this, because a lot of this stuff Apple's added recently. And touts.
It's like Face Unlock.
Yeah. Yeah, Face Unlock was, not that it worked, but you could do it.
Theoretically, it was possible.
It was in there.
It's the thought that counts.
Jelly Bean 4.1, 4.2 Jelly Bean, 4.3 Jelly Bean. Then there was Kit Kat.
Jelly.
October 2013. Has it been that long? Wow. Kit Kat 4.4. Well, I can go on, but there's a very nice, if you want to go down the Android memory lane, they even have little videos from Google I/O. Look at the first Android Wear watch. That thing is huge.
Nice.
That's big on a big wrist. I can't even
imagine it.
imagine
That is just like, that's...
That guy's 7 feet tall.
Yeah. He's huge. It's Andre the Giant. Marshmallow. Happy 10th. I didn't to Google Android, a sweet decade of Android, and Google's own blog had its little memory. Oh, you know what? It looks like most of that Verge article was taken straight from Google's blog. Well, I'll be diggity danged. There's the Nexus 7 tablet. I still use my Nexus 7. I have 2 of them. It's quite useful. I only run one program on it. Oh, they had boarding passes in Jelly Bean.
What's the program?
That must be Google Now, right? Yeah. Google Now started in Jelly Bean. So now we know it takes how many? 4 Android versions to kill something. Sigh.
What's the program you run on your tablet? The
one in front of me? It's this thing.
You said you have 2 and you only run one.
Oh, I wrote a little Android. What do they call the Android?
An APK? Or?
Yeah, it's an APK, but I made it with a very simplified Android programming environment. And it does one thing only, which is time my radio shows. So as the time goes by, it counts me down to the next ad. And it turns out the Nexus 7 is a perfect size for it. So it just there it is. It's just because it's big numbers, and it's just counting me down. And when I get to 0, then it's time to do a commercial.
I just thought you went by feel.
Well, not here. By here it's feel is exactly right.
Okay.
But radio show is network.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So actually, I was doing it wrong. I was in a commercial. Now I'm green, which means I can talk. I have 547 seconds, and then
that doesn't seem enough.
It's commercial radio. You know, in fact, if anybody wonders why our shows go on so damn long, why I talk about the same thing over and over again, it's because I never was allowed to for 40 years in broadcasting. So I'm a
got all these thoughts just stored up in his brain.
I just want to talk.
How long did it take you to write that?
Not very long. What was the name of it was MIT took it over.
6 months.
Oh God, no. If you saw the code, here I'll show you the code.
I'm sure it was like an afternoon or something.
Barely, because it's mostly one big if then else thing, you know. And
that's the only programming I do now.
App Builder, it's called. Actually, I still do some. I do some coding. I love coding. It's always been a good hobby. Is this it? No, that's a dumb. That's the base. Oh, maybe. This can't be it because this is like demo code, but that's what it looks like. But you don't usually write it in that. You write it with the App Builder app. MIT took this over, and then so this is the APK. It's a megabyte. It's pretty small. I put it. It's nice and small and easy to run on a 10-year-old whatever that is tablet, but it's very useful. And the thing is, it goes all the time. The radio show's only on Saturday and Sunday, but this goes all the time. It's always. It never stops. Never stops counting down the minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at least you can count on something.
There's something you can count on. Let's just leave this right here. This is, ironically, this is actually bigger and maybe even more useful than the Home Hub.
Oh, there you go.
That'll give you some idea. Yeah. But there's me and my wife.
Does it have a counter feature?
No.
On the Home Hub?
You know what? If I could get that app on this, then I'd be happy.
I smell a challenge.
Someone in the chat.
Can you run apps on the Home Hub? I don't think you can. I wonder.
No, it's running
It's
version of
Chromecast, right?
Cast.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I guess you could do an app.
Somehow. I'll have to look into that. That'd be interesting. So Google has made some changes, which we will start talking about right
changelog.
now.
The Google changelog.
Boom, 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 boom. Not quite 2001: A Space Odyssey, but here it is. What's new from Google? And this was a big one. And it's not in response to Tim Cook, but it is if somebody brings up Tim Cook, it's a good thing to mention. This is in the keyword blog. Ed Moralia writing, Director of Product Management, Privacy and Data Protection Office. They are going to make it easier for you to, they say this is part of an overall plan to make it easier for you to make decisions about your data directly within the Google products you use every day, but it's starting with search. You see in this animation, you go to the settings of search, and there is a new entry. I don't see it yet, but presumably it will be coming to all Google devices, called Your Data in Search, in which you can then go down and delete your data, control your data, see what Google knows about you. See, this is, to me, as long as Google is transparent about what they collect and gives you these kinds of things. Now, you might be cynical and say, well, they're only doing it because of GDPR. Well, fine. If that's the case, fine. But
regulation works.
Yeah, they're doing it.
So the threat of regulation works.
Yeah. So you can see what searches you made. You can delete search activity. You can decide what search activity is saved.
Coming to Maps, too, apparently.
Yes, eventually it sounds like they plan to put it in every Google application. We're always working on making it easier for you to understand and control your data so you can make privacy choices that are right for you. Earlier this year, we launched a new Google account experience that puts your privacy and security front and center. We updated our privacy policy with videos and clearer language. Today, we're making it easier for you to make decisions about your data directly within search. So I don't think it was in response to Tim Cook. But
I imagine they've been working on it for a while.
Yes, I think you probably have been. More 4K. I'm grateful to Google. Apple did this when they released the 4K Apple TV. Google is now upgrading your movies that you've purchased on Google Play to 4K for free, even if you originally bought it in SD or HD. Of course, the movie has to be available in 4K. They're also lowering the prices on 4K titles.
Is that because nobody cares enough to update their 4K on their own?
I think that would be the cynical interpretation. But I think the real interpretation is that more people have 4K TVs. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to buy a new TV, even a cheap TV that isn't 4K. So it just makes sense. They updated the app on Samsung, LG, and Vizio TVs. They will automatically support 4K if those are 4K TVs. And you can use.
What if you bought it in SD when there was an HD alternative? Because sometimes when I buy,
well, that's interesting. They say, even if you originally bought the movie in SD.
Huh. All right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, because I mean, like sometimes you're like, I'm really I'm buying this to watch on like my tablet. So then,
so it doesn't matter.
I bet you that's so unusual.
Really?
That they don't care.
Am I the only cheap person in the universe?
You save $1.
Hey, it is so worth it.
How about a new course to teach people about fairness in machine learning? My daughter actually has been doing her thesis on this. And we all know that machine learning can be highly biased if it's trained with limited samples, right? If you only train face recognition with Caucasians, it's going to do it's going to be a terrible job with African Americans. So here's the question: what do you see? Bananas, stickers, or bananas on shelves?
Stickers.
There are stickers on all the bananas, maybe.
So,
okay.
Students who complete this training will learn how biases might affect this. People asked to describe a photo of bananas may not say yellow bananas because those of us in the U.S., and I bet in Australia too, that's all we see, right?
Fair point.
But in many parts of the world, yellow is not a common color for banana. They're
green?
Pink. No,
what?
They're green. They're green. They're green.
Orange.
I was like, what? I have never, ever heard of this. That's
They're
like how I felt
better.
when I heard that wombats poop cubes. I was like, what?
Perfect
No.
cubes.
Wombats poop cubes.
Now we're going down a whole different road.
Sorry, non sequitur. Keep going. They
Their
do.
bananas are often
But yes.
better than ours too.
But
in other countries.
if you want to recognize bananas and you don't make distinctions about the colors, you might not ever recognize those bananas, the red or the green. Those are plantains. You might not recognize those because you go, no. Every banana I've ever seen is yellow.
Aren't plantains different than bananas?
They're related.
I know they're related, but
they're both banana-y.
Ish.
Okay. I have no faith in this discussion anymore. That's all I'm saying.
I will tell you though, I do know this for a fact.
Look at that. Red. There's a pink banana.
Okay.
The variety of banana that we get in North America
is a
particular
monoculture
strain.
Yeah,
it's a monoculture.
Yes.
They are clones, and they're dying.
Yes. And they're politically incorrect.
We need new bananas.
Their history and the Dole Corporation's history is horrific. So, okay.
Bad company sometimes.
Google has told its employees in an internal memo that references to sex acts are no longer allowed in workplace documents or short URLs.
And was that a big problem? Or
I'm thinking if they had to make a policy, it might have been.
I guess maybe it was.
By the way,
just file out other things you shouldn't have to say.
Shouldn't have to say.
Cavendish, yes, sorry.
Yes.
Chat room said Cavendish.
Cavendish. Should never have to say that.
Did you want to talk about Bloomberg at all?
Oh, God, no. No. Yes, but let's finish the changelog. I'm just looking in.
Okay. Sorry, I'm sorry.
All Kiwi schools get a license to Chrome. And you get a license to Chrome. And you get a license to Chrome.
I thought we were still talking about fruit.
Yes, we could be.
Why do the Kiwis?
As part of an agreement with the New Zealand Ministry of Education, all state and state-integrated schools across New Zealand can claim ministry-funded Chrome education licenses to manage and use. I don't know. Google.
Oh, it sounds like the Google or the.
They made a deal.
Kiwi. Yeah, they made a deal with the Federal Department of Education.
Yeah, they made a deal. Free to you, maybe not to Kiwis.
I have nothing against the Kiwis.
Nothing. How about a better way to share your ETA with Google Maps?
I'm down for that voluntarily through my texts.
Yeah.
I thought you could do that already.
You can do it.
After you've started navigating to a destination, tap the up arrow button, and then on the Share Trip Progress, you'll be able to share your live location, route, and ETA with all your favorite contacts. This is Android and iOS. Today's update also allows for sharing across third-party apps like Facebook Messenger, Line, WhatsApp, and more. So they can, you don't have to just, give them maps. I've always liked that feature. We've watched people who are late to the show. We've watched them drive up here. I think it was Robert Scoble who was the first to discover that feature in iOS, and we watched him speed the whole way.
Did he make it?
Yes. But not so quickly that we weren't able to, on the air live, watch him come here and park and drive way above the speed limit. He must have been driving one of them GM cars. And that's your Google changelog.
Of course, the kiwi was originally known as the Chinese gooseberry.
Yes, the kiwi
but
fruit.
Nobody would buy it. Yeah.
Yes. It is a gooseberry.
Not the kiwi people.
Yes. No, they were not known as Chinese.
Those Chinese gooseberries down under.
Like, I really want to call people Chinese gooseberries. I'm like, oh, that's kind of like a loving
kiwi
thing.
fruit is a gooseberry, but much like rapeseed oil, they realized no one would buy it
Exactly.
if they didn't rename it.
And I use this often as an example with my kids of the importance of marketing and particularly naming. I think the Vikings did that with Greenland because they were trying to get people to go there.
Well, and you know that
no green anywhere.
It's green. Well, they made the mistake of calling Iceland Iceland, and no one went there.
No one went there, exactly.
Yeah, that's why no one went there.
Here's another example. The Patagonian toothfish.
Yep.
No one would really want that unless you named it Chilean sea bass.
In which case it becomes delicious.
Delicious Patagonian toothfish to go with your Chinese gooseberry.
Mahi was originally, it's a type of dolphin, but it's not the cute kind.
Not the good dolphin.
But they didn't want to use the word dolphin.
No.
Probably mahi means bad dolphin in Hawaiian.
Other dolphin.
The one you can eat.
The edible dolphin.
What makes mahi okay to eat then?
It sounds good. It's not. They're not under threat. Like it's a type of. It's not even a dolphin, really. I don't even know why it's called that. I don't name things.
Well, now I'm not going to want to ever eat mahi again. Let's look here. No, it's not a dolphin.
Like
it's a fish.
Dolphin
it's a fish.
There you go.
It's the pompano dolphin fish.
Yeah. So it has dolphin in it.
Yeah, or Dorado. Actually, I've seen it as a Dorado.
It comes from the Hawaiian language. Very strong.
Yeah.
Means very strong.
Very strong. Very strong.
I don't know. Are they that strong though? Really?
It isn't closely related to dolphins. It's just called the dolphin fish, but it's not related.
They're a fugly looking fish.
Yeah. They in Malta they call them the lampuca.
Nice.
Also a bad name.
Put that on the menu.
Have lampuca for dinner, everyone. Let's take a break. You know what? I'm going to get you out of here fast because Stacey is faint.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm focused. Well, I'm reading now about mahi.
That's you see the rat holes we get into. Are you getting one of them Rode-matics? We still haven't really decided who's getting the Rode-matic.
Oh, you know what? They've offered me a review unit, so I can take one if you really want me to do a tortilla analysis.
What's a Rode?
It's an automated roadie maker.
What?
Now, I would buy an automated Montreal bagel maker, but
yeah,
Montreal bagels? What?
Oh,
let's not get into the bagel thing. Let's not get into the bagel.
She doesn't know from bagels. She's an Austinite. When do you move to Seattle?
Bagel.
June. You'll hear a lot more coming in because I've got a whole thing. What?
Whoa. What?
Okay, Mathew, I tweeted this and I told people.
Don't you read Twitter religiously? And if you miss something, go back and look at it?
I think I blocked Stacey at one point. No.
This is why.
Is it my insults to Canadians?
No.
I feel so righteous when I say, I don't read Twitter.
What is going on? What's the deal?
I'm moving to Seattle in June because I've wanted to live there for a while. And because I've lived in Austin for 20 years and it's time to get out of here.
But you have that great house.
I do. I'll have a great house elsewhere.
So have you started house hunting or?
We're going to rent for a year. We're going to rent on Bainbridge Island.
Oh, I love Bainbridge Island.
We're going to see if we're island people.
I have family there.
Excellent.
Bainbridge is a nice island because it has a bridge. We've been looking at an island that doesn't have a bridge.
It's risky, man.
Well.
Good for you. Seattle's great. Good for you.
It's a beautiful area. We may end up there with you.
The Twig studio could move? Oh, no, you'd be retired.
You know, I think this is not exactly a job one retires from. Because basically it involves sitting in a chair and talking.
I was like, are you going to keel over in your chair? Because I do not want to be on the air for that. I'm going to feel terrible.
That would be great. I want to die in the saddle, so to speak.
Retired
or the Dr. Evil chair, as it were.
He retired.
What am I going to retire? What am I going to retire to? Sitting in a chair and talking.
Sitting in a chair and not talking on the TV. Just talking to nobody.
Just talking to nobody? Does that sound like fun?
No, all right. Yeah, you're going to have a Facebook live stream.
People doing
and then I told Stacey, get the Rode-matic. By the way, Heston Q, used once, hanging on the rack, looks pretty.
You could probably sell it on eBay.
The problem with it is, A, just as you said, who doesn't know how to use a pan? B, it's all designed around videos and recipes on the iPad or the tablet. So you say, oh, I want to make stew. Now you have to watch a whole video and the thing, and then because you can manually control that burner, but it does things. It's got a mind of its own.
Give it to do both of your kids know how to cook? Because that's who you should give it to. Someone who doesn't know how to cook. Okay,
yeah, actually,
well, I mean,
it's it would be like a hot plate without being a hot plate, right? Because it's an induction burner.
An $800 hot plate. Yes.
Oh, and well, to add insult to injury, that pretty much the same time frame I bought the Facebook portals.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, oh yeah. It's
Mathew will test them out with you.
Mathew.
Yeah. I bet he will. See?
He doesn't care about privacy.
Yeah, he's like, GM, listen in on my radio. Facebook, come to my house.
I'm going to get a Huawei portal.
He's got the P20. Get the Huawei portal. You already have it, my friend. Our show today... our show today brought to you by DigitalOcean. I am a DigitalOcean fan. DigitalOcean is one of those companies you may not have heard of. I guess if you're a developer, you're a startup, you have. But I think a lot of people don't know about DigitalOcean because it's one of those things that is really making a huge difference. It is an innovation engine for the modern times. And here's why I say that. Back when my friend Kevin Rose started Dig, the late lamented Dig, I remember him, he had to buy a colo, server and then buy a server. He had to go to the colo, put the server in. He had to configure it. He had to set it up. And then he had one server that could run Dig. Fast forward to 2018. If you've got an idea for a technology to change the world, if you've got an app that you want to put online, a website you want to put online, if you want to learn how to make apps or websites, if you want to play with ideas, do what we call nowadays a minimum viable product, DigitalOcean not only makes it easy, makes it very affordable. It is powering the transformation of the world, I think, and I love it. So what is DigitalOcean? It's the industry leader in cloud platforms. Makes it easy to deploy, manage, and scale applications. What you do is you create a droplet. See, you get it? A droplet in the ocean. You create a droplet, and that droplet is basically a provisioned server that'll be ready for you to use in a minute in any way you want with 99.99% uptime, and they've got an SLA for that. Cloud firewalls. You get monitoring, you get alerting, you get a full DNS management, you get a public IP address that you can then use with your domain name if you want. You get enterprise SSDs, a very easy-to-use API. So 150,000 businesses, including some of the world's fastest-growing startups, have been using DigitalOcean to get their first minimum viable product up, to create a product without a whole lot of costs. And when I mean affordable, it starts at $5 a month. So in fact, I'll show you real quickly. I like to do this on the show. I'm going to set up a droplet. I have 3 droplets running right now. Total of $7.90. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Let me show you how easy it is to create a droplet. You could choose an image. So if you just say, oh, look, I want an Ubuntu running or a FreeBSD running ZFS or Fedora or Debian or CentOS, you can even select the version, which is really pretty amazing. I like to run a really stable Debian 8.1, right? So that could be it. But you could also use containers. Or let's say no, I want to do some Node programming. I want Node.js. I'm going to write a Node application. So all I do is I say, okay, I'm going to create a Node.js. It'll be running on Ubuntu 18.04. I'm going to do it cheap, $5 a month or 0.007 cents an hour. That gives me a virtual CPU, 25 gigs of storage, a terabyte of transfer, plenty for an MVP. I always enable backups in case I do something good. Choose your server all over the world. Frankfurt, London, Singapore, Amsterdam, Toronto, Bangalore, New York. I always choose San Francisco because it's nearby. I like it with the SSH key. See, I can use my SSH key to log in. That's very handy. They got IPv6 private networking, lots more stuff. Name it, Leo's Node. Watch this. I am going to create my droplet. This is literally provisioning a server that's going to be very inexpensive and ready to use in about a minute. It's a great way to create your first website, to learn how to write code, to create a minimum viable application for your new startup. This is what's transforming the world, in my opinion. I love DigitalOcean. I love what this means for entrepreneurs. You can choose from standard or CPUs optimized droplets, customized from there. They now have volumes. It's easy to add volumes. So if you need more storage, it's easy to get. Oh, it's done. I now have a node server running at this address. It's really awesome. I can log into it via SSH. I can start writing my node code right now. Fantastic. Say hi to 138.68.17.123. do.co/twit. It's going to get even more affordable right now. If you go to do.co/twit, we're going to give you a free $100 credit. That's going to give you quite a lot of time to play with this for free. And it integrates with everything you're already using. do.co/twit, a free $100 credit. I always tell students, get an account at DigitalOcean so that when you start learning how to code, you can do it in a real-world environment. You can even invite your friends to use your new site. And for businesses, too, it's a great way to get started without having to buy server hardware or wait for provisioning days at a time. do.co/twit, $100 credit right now at DigitalOcean. I love DigitalOcean.
I want to read an item from the Bainbridge Island Police Blotter. Can I do that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Random selection. A person or persons yet unknown forced their way into a pasture on Island Center Road and stole a horse exercise ball while several of the animals were present.
Yes, we read the local paper. It is awesome.
There are no suspects.
Of course not. But somebody's got an illicit horse exercise ball in their living room.
Is that like a normal exercise ball?
I think so, but larger, probably.
Okay, I was like, wait, what is a horse?
Maybe somebody just needed a really big one, and they couldn't think of how else to get them.
Yeah.
It
is an island. You wouldn't want to have to drive off to order something, and there is no Prime now.
There's no Prime? Oh, there's no Prime now.
There's no Prime now.
No, because there is a bridge, so you do get deliveries and stuff.
Yes.
My like I said, my aunt and uncle live there, and they love it.
Well, Scooter X says his business partner lives there.
Nice. My late uncle also lived there. He built one of those log. You might as well do this. He got a Lindell Cedar home, one of those log homes that they deliver. Built it himself. There's the exercise ball.
I think that's art.
Oh, is that art? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
But he was in the CIA and he retired to Bainbridge Island. So
there's a
I feel
complaint
safer
against
already.
Yeah.
one of the councilmen improper conduct because he called a hotel owner a liar 7 times during
a liar
televised council meeting.
Did he challenge him to a duel afterwards?
This is where you want to live, I swear.
Yeah, I don't, but my family really does, and it gets me closer to the Pacific Northwest. So I'll accept it.
They'll get tired of it pretty quick.
You don't want to live there?
I don't.
You want to live in
no
Seattle,
problem.
don't you? You want to live in town.
I'm a little more urban than the rest of my family.
Girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll go live there with
okay.
them. You said there's good kayaking.
There is good kayaking, but it's only during certain months of the year. It's like Canada, actually. What am I saying?
I don't.
Okay.
It's just like Canada.
Do they get ice?
I don't know. I don't know.
No
I'm sure they do.
I think they might get ice, but not like it doesn't stick.
Oh, okay. Then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not like you get a week of ice or anything.
No.
Right.
It's it is an island though. So you do get a lot of power outages, and
Perfect.
internet outages. So I'm going to have 2 internet service providers, both Comcast, who serves the area, and a local DSL provider.
And a windmill?
And also a windmill. and a little hamster on a wheel.
So I'm going to give you a chance. We have talked a lot about the Bloomberg Supermicro story. We've gone back and forth. Each of our hosts, but I would actually love your take on this. Each of our hosts has widely differing opinions. Steve Gibson and I feel like Bloomberg didn't make this up, but we've had people like Andy Iannacco and Greg Farrow on Twitter just as recently as Sunday say it's bollocks and that Tim Cook and Amazon's demands for retractions are right, and Bloomberg should retract the story. Matt?
So, I mean, Bloomberg, it's not like this just showed up on some guy's blog, right? I mean, Bloomberg has been around for a while, and they know what they're doing. That's my first starting point. So obviously, there's something going on, and they claim they have 17 different sources. But the denials that we've seen, like typically you get denials that are super vague. These are extremely detailed and explicit denials. Denials of every single alleged fact, denials that any company is under a gag order. So even if it was a top secret investigation, denials that are so specific, writing letters to Congress saying it's not true. Like that's not something you do if there's any truth to it. So then you have a source, one of the only named sources says, well, I sketched out a hypothetical way that this could happen, and the facts all match identically with my hypothetical. So that makes me nervous. And then there's a guy who writes a blog all about network architecture and servers. I don't know him, but he did a 5-page analysis of the description that Bloomberg gave and said it's not only not plausible, in some cases it's functionally impossible for the things they describe doing things to do those things. And even if you wanted to do those things, you wouldn't do them in that way. You would do them through software or through different types of chips. And so I just have this huge, it's not that I don't trust Bloomberg, I do, but it just feels wrong in some way.
So that's the question is if it is, and you've got John Micklethwaite, their editor-in-chief. And by the way, I talked to Mark Millian, who writes at Bloomberg Business Week a couple of twits ago. He said Micklethwaite was involved in this story from its inception 2 years ago. This goes back to Obama administration sources as well as Trump administration sources 2 years ago. And Micklethwaite is highly respected in the industry. He said he was very much involved in vetting these sources and vetting this story. So to me, it's a great puzzlement. Now, somebody told me... I think we need
more. So Eric Wemple at the Washington Post wrote something about it in which he said Bloomberg has to come up with more. They have to.
Well, one would think that if it's a true story, others will come up with more as well, right? Somebody will have one of these motherboards and
theoretically.
Well, yeah, because the second we saw that Bloomberg story, everybody called everybody they knew to try to follow this. Right. I mean, and while there are very few hardcore enterprise server type reporters out there, they still do exist. And I even called some people I know and talked to them about it. And
I guess on the other hand, I would expect none of these companies to admit it. Not only is it bad for business, it's probably they're under gag order, and so we don't know. I mean, it's very likely that the intelligence community has told everybody under no circumstances are you to tell anybody that this happened.
But that's why I would have expected the denials to be a lot more general.
And we would have followed up on it.
Yeah.
I was reading Seymour Hersh's biography, right? Just actually 2 weeks ago. And one of the astonishing things that still remains true to this day is once you pull the thread, the sweater unravels. Once someone starts talking, even when people are trying to shut that person up.
Yeah, usually the more comes out, right?
Yeah, and that's not happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just...
And yet, I do not believe that Micklethwaite and the two reporters involved are lying.
No, of course not. But I'm wondering whether they talked to guys like this source who gave them hypotheticals, and they built a story around things that their sources have not actually seen,
Right.
but they have heard about. And that's
I'm
always
sticking.
It's hearsay and so less reliable.
right.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with they're touching the back of the rhinoceros.
Right.
They think it's a rhinoceros, but it's really an elephant, or however I said that.
That's exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing which I've always said, whoever you believe, is that it is an issue. These things do happen. Every security expert says, however it happens, whether in software, at the factory, in transit, it happens. Yeah. We do it, they do it. And it's a big problem because you can't ever be assured that, trust is a huge part of modern life. And as these machines that we use every day in every context are more and more complex, we have to trust them more and more. And that's why this article is important and why this debate is important, because it sounds like whether you believe the facts about Supermicro, these devices are no longer trustworthy, and they are everywhere.
And I think that's why we need more detail.
Yeah. We do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad. No, hey, Columbia Journalism Review, long-standing journalist. You actually went to J school when there were typewriters. I wanted to hear what Mathew Ingram had to say about this, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, the typewriters, Mathew, that really changes how I view journalism.
Hey, that's when journalism was hard.
Oh,
yeah, come on.
Pish-tosh.
Putting those keys down was hard.
Mathew, do you have a pick of the week? Anything you want to share with us before we wrap this puppy up?
I found something. It's in the rundown. It's the you can watch a PowerPoint presentation about how the White Walkers use their Chromebooks to communicate.
Wait,
have you seen that?
The White Walkers? You mean from Game of Thrones?
Yeah. So there's a presentation about how they do recruiting for the White Walkers. Yeah.
And this is actually an ad from Google.
It's very persuasive.
White Walkers make a slide. The Night King is making a slide presentation. Not PowerPoint. You said PowerPoint, but let's be fair. This is Google Slides. Yeah. You don't need PowerPoint. You can use the iceberg font. Winter is here. Cold as ice.
You're as cold as ice.
Oh, wait a minute. He's using Lightroom on a Chromebook? Really? This is pretty funny. We need this today, says the Night King. White Walker. I'm on it. Night King. Are you?
No.
If you want to work together, build armies, collaborate, destroy walls, manage teams, conquer Westeros, your Chromebook.
Okay.
But I missed that, how they did Lightroom. Oh, maybe that was Lightroom and Android. Chromebook.com/White Walkers.
There you go.
Very good. I like it.
That was fun.
Nice. Stacey, what's your pick of the week?
Okay. Well, I can show you whisper mode if you want to hear, if you want it. It's a little creepy. Or I can show you, I went to an event. I was a speaker at an event, and it was for JBL, actually. But as part of that, Chris Turkstra, who is the head of Google Assistant, was there. And I asked him, because this has long bothered me, why all the different Google Assistant voices were called things like cyan and scarlet, or not scarlet, red.
They're not called by names.
They're not called by names. They're called by colors. And I currently use cyan, which is a male voice. And so I was like, hey, what's up with that? And he said that they did not want to offend anyone. It's a fraught topic for like gender identification, for nationalities and ethnicities.
Yep.
So
good point.
They just went with colors. And I was like, huh. And the reason I stopped
smart.
myself saying scarlet is he said some colors have names or have gender.
So they don't use that either.
So they don't use that either. Which I was like, hey, that's actually kind of nice to know.
Smart.
And it's not a pick. It's just information I picked up talking to someone. And
that's why I don't mind if they spy on me, because they're good people.
For now.
I think some people there are really awesome, just like the whole spectrum of humanity.
So where do I choose where can I see the colors? Yeah, I'm in the voice.
I don't know. You can hear mine if you want. Let's bring this guy over.
I want to hear whisper too.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah,
who do you want first? Do you want to hear cyan or whisper?
Whisper first.
What's the point of whisper?
I'll tell you why. Because if you have a child and you want your Amazon Echo to sing a lullaby as she goes to sleep.
Got it.
You don't want the... And I actually have had this problem with the Google Home because I use it to set alarms. And
you're about to spoil my thunder, Leo.
Like at 6 in the morning, I want to say, don't forget to wake me up at 8:30.
Right.
So I say, hey, wake me up at 8:30. And it goes, okay, I'm setting alarms for 8:30 in the morning. Arr! And it's like, I don't know. Thank you.
All right, ready?
Yes.
Oh, forgive me, everyone who has a Madame A. Set alarm for 10 a.m.
She's so quiet, we can't hear her.
You couldn't hear that? My mic was right there. Okay.
Oh, did she say it?
Cancel alarm. 10 a.m. alarm cancel. Did you hear it?
Wow.
Yeah, it's creepy.
So quiet. All I heard was
very.
It is really quiet. Well, and I was trying to turn it up, and then I realized, that doesn't actually work.
It's whisper mode. Yeah.
It's a
so
loud
if you whisper to her, she will whisper to you.
Cool.
And the way you turn that on is you just say what? You say echo, use whisper mode.
Yes, this is the most important thing. I can't believe I forgot it, you guys. Okay.
What?
Can I get a Stacey mode in my Echo?
Yeah, I want
Stacey. I don't think everyone's prepared for that. Okay. This, to enable it, all you have to do is whisper at her.
Oh.
That's it.
You don't have to say enable it.
She's going to say, hey, I think you're whispering at me. Do you want to enable whisper mode? And you say, yes. And this is one of the first, and you guys, you're going to hear me talk about this a lot in the near future because Amazon is actually putting, as part of reInvent coming up, a session on voice-based programming. It's for serverless, so kind of nerdy. But the point is, we are going to be soon in a world of voice-based programming, and we're implementing, like if you look at Amazon, they are implementing all the infrastructure needed for that. Not all, but some of it.
That seems like a really nice way to implement these things instead of having to know what it is and all that stuff.
Well, and they showed it off at the Amazon event. They showed off a smart plug. It was the Amazon, and that's part of why the ACK, the Madame A Connect kit, I can't say her name. I'm sorry. The A Connect kit module is so
Echo. Just use Echo instead of A.
But
I know it's A.
Because if you use it and you put it in your product and you use Amazon's like wireless connectivity, kind of, they have a word for it and I can't think of what it's called. You basically plug it in and Madame A says, hey, I see a new smart plug. Do you want to put this in a room?
That's how it should be.
And then
totally
you say,
how it should be.
Yes. And she's like, hey, what room is it? And you're like, kitchen. And she's like, yes.
Like a real assistant.
Yes.
Not like a dumb robot.
Awesome.
By the way, I don't know. I have video of the whisper mode being recorded. I don't know if you saw this. Do you have my sound? Oh. She's saying quiet, whispery things.
Is this an ASMR video? Yes. Is this Cardi B does ASMR?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Bingo. You win. Well, I'm so sad that you can't hear it, though. That's
ASMR.
Why does she have two different mics?
Well, you've got left and you've got right.
Okay.
And she's not afraid to use it.
So this is so weird. And I think I introduced you guys all about ASMR way back in the day.
Are you into it?
I think you did.
My daughter is. She actually listens to it. I picked up her headphones and I was like, hey, what you listening to? And she's like, and I'm like, what is this? And she's like, oh, it's my ASMR noise. And I was like,
wow.
So what does it do for her?
Does she find it relaxing or?
She's super anxious. So it makes her feel like while she does her homework and stuff.
I used to when I was young. Some people, when they talked, would put me in a kind of altered state. And I think that's what ASMR was originally kind of about, is that there's almost a hypnotic mode of talking and a sound. It doesn't have to be whisper. This is where I think they've gone wrong with the.
No, it's supposed to enable this sensory chill. This sensory.
It was a weird feeling. It was like Yeah, it was like and it felt good. But I've never been able to recapture that. Maybe I should listen to some more Cardi B.
Bob Ross does that for me.
Bob Ross is very much that. See, he's not whispering, but he's very gentle.
Very relaxed.
Very relaxed.
Did you ever read about why he talks like that?
No. Why?
So he was in the army, and he got yelled at a lot. And so when he got out, he decided that he would never, ever raise his voice, ever.
Never.
Wow.
I am going to do the same thing from now on.
You would be terrible at that.
What? I'd be
like,
great.
oh, guys.
Oh, guys. It'll be so great. Yeah, it's a little weird. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to release the staff and crew of the good ship Twig and let them fly free, according to Proposition 12.
What if I just limp off with my broken toe?
Do you have a broken toe, too?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you do?
I don't know anything.
Oh, I break my toe all the time. Once every year or two, I break my toe.
You stub it on something?
Just for fun? Or?
No, it gets caught on something and then it just snaps.
Oh my God!
It's usually when I'm it's usually when I'm stepping into my pants. I'll just be honest. It's really just terrifying.
Wow!
It's so stupid.
Wow!
I tore my toe up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's still fun.
And now, just so that you don't think we're lying, here is a wombat. And here is wombat poop. It's cubic.
Oh, it is kind of rounded cubes.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's a cube exactly.
That's not a cube.
It's not. It's not exactly.
I think by describing it as a cube, you gave it some
fake news.
Fake news. Wombats are adorable.
Look at the wombat.
I love
Oh my God.
I had a wombat encounter in Tasmania.
Yes, you did. That's right.
Yeah.
Last time I was on, you showed.
Yeah, I love my wombat.
And a Tasmanian devil too, didn't you?
Yes, I showed them both. Yeah. Yes.
Those are not cute. Those look like
no, those aren't cute. But wombats are. Although wombats can tear right into your flesh. Actually,
he's grooming. I think.
An interesting point. That butt, it has a bone. It's almost like a helmet. And to avoid being eaten alive, wombats will dive into their hole. Only their butt will protrude, and it's armored, and they can't be eaten. However, I've been told by Australians that makes them a very poor form of roadkill because it feels like you just hit a bowling ball.
What? So what was going
really
on
damage.
with the sausage there in the video? Why was that woman
some sort of wombat ASMR? I don't think we need to investigate any further.
And then there was like a funnel or something. What is happening?
She's demonstrating why
their cubes poop.
Yes.
Why they poop cubes? Is it their intestinal shape?
That's
why
apparently there's
the
a physics reason for it.
Got you.
Oh God. Got it. I really love this show. Okay.
You learn so much in this show.
I can check that out later.
Check it. Learn more about wombats. Visit your local public library, Mathew.
Google play the wombat poop.
Isn't it sad that people no longer have to go to the library to learn anything? They can just Google it.
You know, my daughter's teacher they have to have X number of print sources for their papers.
That's crazy talk.
Well, what is really crazy to me is we get the New Yorker. So I'm like, oh, let me go, but I don't keep the issues. Oh. So it doesn't count unless it's in paper format. Yeah. So when she goes to the New Yorker website, which I'm like,
that's the same text.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a little iffy.
How old is this teacher?
Good discipline.
Is it my age?
Is it typing class?
No, it's science.
Science.
Yeah, which is.
I went to the library when I was in Calgary because I was looking for somewhere to work that looked nice. I like old libraries.
Well, thanks to WeWork, we don't even have that anymore.
And they have Wi-Fi. And there were tons.
Come to Austin. Our brand new library is on one of Time Magazine's top 100 beautiful places in the world.
Oh, that's nice.
But it's beautiful, like new beautiful or beautiful old beautiful?
It's new beautiful, but it's a totally green building. It's very cool looking. It's got a lot of. It's very nice.
It's pretty.
See,
because the
New York Public Library
in Prime
Okay,
Park.
that's
is
old,
probably
beautiful.
my favorite
I love that.
love
Yeah.
thing. I used to go and work in the old documents room. That looks okay, I guess.
Wow. Because I just say one thing? Where the hell are the books?
Oh, they're in this. This is the atrium area. They're all in the side shelves. They
Nice
exist.
library you got there. Be a shame if you had any books in it.
Libraries are about social events now. It's not just about.
Oh, I see some books.
See, they're over on the side. Don't worry, they're there.
Over on the side.
My child and husband came back, and they came back with 30 books. So I know they're there.
That's nice. The new Central Library. That's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Stacey Higginbotham talks about Internet of Things at her website. That's her newsletter, stacyoniot.com. She also does an IoT podcast, the Internet of Things podcast with Kevin Toffel, every Wednesday morning, and you can subscribe to that at stacyoniot.com as well. She's at GigaStacy on Twitter. And I hope your cold gets better. We'll see you next week, Stacey. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sweet.
Mathew Ingram, Stacey's longtime colleague at GigOhm, is now at the Columbia Journalism Review, CJR.org, where he's chief digital writer. You can also follow him on the Twitter, MatheEwi.
1T.
1T, like it's supposed to be.
It's forever ruined my spelling of anybody named Matthew. I swear.
I only need one. Some people need two.
Some people need two. There may be overachievers. I don't know. We do Twig every Wednesday, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. That's 20:30 UTC. Join us, won't you? And watch the show. You can stream it live at twit.tv/live, or you could be in the studio with us live. We like that, too. We had a very nice couple of people visiting from Adelaide today, Australia, Jesse and Michael.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.
Adelaide is Austin's sister city. Hello.
What?
I'm so
Wow.
excited for her. Okay.
Sister cities.
I'm
They're
okay.
like sisters.
My cold medicine is totally kicking in, you guys. Don't stop now.
If you want to be in studio, email tickets at twit.tv. You can also get on-demand versions of the show at Twig, twit.tv/Twig, or subscribe in your favorite podcast. Oh, look. That's a nice picture of Stacey. Wow. We'll work on.
Thanks, you guys.
We'll work on that. Twit.tv/Twig, or subscribe in your favorite podcast appliance. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.